Before we begin tonight's podcast, guys, we're going to give a small little shout out of things to, who is that channel? I can't remember, but just know that the person or teams that we're going to be shouting out today was going to be important. You guys should check them out. They'll be probably in the description below when I remember. Anyway, roll intro credits.
Growing up and growing old, don't you feel the time moving forward every morning when we rise? If only we could make it right before the sun says goodnight.
Wait, we have credits?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What Grinds Our Gears, the podcast owned, ran by, and started by purely family. And since Aaron's now joining us again, we have a new team of lawyers after me, Britt, and Jazz used the shotgun of firing, where the new legal team is kind of more relaxed than before. Anywho, you guys know me. It's V. Thanks to the contract agreement from last time, thanks to Sally, and authorized by Jenny, I was forced to never leave the show for any reason again. I'm stuck here forever. And joining me to the left of the round table today, because everybody else is both either the weekday team or just kind of busy at the moment, is, of course, the man that started all with me. He is, of course, Daredevil every time we do this podcast. He's Wolverine and Andy Dufresne the weekdays. And he's also kind of Deadpool on Sundays when he's in the mood for it. You guys know him. You all love him. You guys send him so many baskets of muffins and bratwurst to his dressing room. It's Hubs. Hubs, how you doing?
Woo! Oh, I'm doing just terrible, V. Just terrible.
Why are you terrible?
I'm just kidding. I'm doing great. I'm fine.
I was about to be like, you want me to get out the muffin basket from the fans out in Illinois?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I like Jen's muffin stuff better.
Alrighty.
That's more of an inside joke that nobody knows because I made it up for Jenny a long time ago.
Well, guys, tonight we are going to try and do two topics. One is the topic that Hubs proposed, and the other one I was proposing of seasonal shows, but we'll see if we can get to that. So, Hubs, you want to introduce the first topic?
All right, we were going to talk about some recent cancellations by Netflix and TV shows, and just basically what we think of characters or how a character acts in one show and how you feel about them in one show, so when they move to another show, how that affects you personally, like on a connection level. Because when we were outside of the cast here, me and V were just tossing some things back and forth, and we got on the topic of Jon Bernthal. Because, as you all know, he was in The Walking Dead. He played Shane, Rick's best friend, or former best friend, which V took the recommendation of somebody to watch him on The Walking Dead and then try to follow through and watch The Punisher, which he never did. Why is that, V?
Well, I mean, I liked him when I watched him in Daredevil Season 2. I was enthralled because he was one of the best Punishers I've seen, because Frank Castle is a hard character to like for myself. And then they told me, watch The Walking Dead. And I'm like, okay, I started on the first season. And although people said it's like a masterpiece of a series, I sat through the whole first season. I was not a fan. And Jon Bernthal was a terrible character. I was like, is this the same guy that was the Punisher? Because if this is his like debut thing, I may have just overhyped him in my head. And I should not give him a second chance.
But that was the point. Okay, so let me explain a little bit. In the comic books, The Walking Dead, Shane's character dies, like, immediately. He doesn't go as far as he did in the show. All right? And it doesn't get to the point where it did in the show. So, that was brand new territory for both the writers and anybody who'd studied The Walking Dead, which I'm sure the actors did, because I'm sure that's what they do, for their source material. So I thought Jon did really good, and the fact that I hated him by the time he died on the show proves that, he did a good job, right? I mean, you're right, I hated his character. I hated his character because he was narcissistic, he was even self-loathing at times. But instead of taking that self-loathing out on himself, he tried to take it out on his best friend.
Yeah, just because he happened to be alive. And
yes, like he was jealous that Rick was alive because he had finally gotten with Rick's wife, and which I thought, the fact that I hate this character means the actor's doing a pretty good job, I think. Maybe it's not it, I don't know. But then when you look at the Punisher from Daredevil season 3, and I have a little different take than V on it. I liked him, but I also hated him because I felt like they were railroading him into the direction that they have railroaded the Hulk into in the first 2 movies of the Hulk, not the Lou Ferrigno thing, but the Lou Ferrigno series is where it started with this loner storytelling, this loner on the road going and helping people on the wayside, but the military's after him, and if he ever gets caught, they're going to use him as an experiment. And he's the bad guy. But they don't ever get into like more of the main characters from the comic books. They actually made the TV show more of a drama than an actual like comic book based story, right?
Right.
In the movies, they just flat out went, nope, Hulk is the villain because he's big and green. Yeah, they didn't even... I mean, you go ahead, B, but I don't think they dove into... Like I said, I wish that Disney would have bought Fox years ago.
I mean, it's basically like they took the Illuminati storyline from the main Marvel universe of Professor X, Namor, Black Bolt, Iron Man, and Mr. Fantastic to try and send Hulk into outer space because of his citywide destructions of when he just tried to help people. Like, he's a danger to us all. He's our trump card against the Skull, against the other abominations that happen to be born from gamma radiation. He's also helped us against Thanos, Galactus, and Celestials time over time. How is he the villain? You make a good point there, Charles. You make a good point. And you also make a good point over there, Doctor Strange. But, go fuck yourselves. What about you, Namor? I think it's a terrible idea. I'm the supervillain, and you guys are the dumbasses. You make a good point. Let's send around to outer space.
It seems to me that when it comes to comic book telling on screen, both Marvel and DC have a better... I don't know what it is, a better list of writers or a better list of what. They do a better job in their animated movies than they do in the on-screen iterations of these characters. Up until, obviously, Marvel took over the reins for making their own movies because they had access to, the Avengers and the Hulk and things like that. But the Hulk's story has become so jaded, So this whole conversation started. What they did to the Hulk was he was immediately supposed to become this loved by all watching, but hated by the government, right? So yeah, we're watching outside on the screen, we love the Hulk because he is controlling himself. Yes, he destroys a lot of shit. But that's because he's trying to save someone, right? And if you look at all the movies, even the original 2, he doesn't hurt any innocent people. That's like his big goal. He doesn't hurt people that are innocent. He doesn't kill anybody that's innocent. Yeah. Right? Poor Hulk. And that's still like the running theme. Even through the Avengers, he still hasn't hurt anybody innocent. But everybody else around him fails to see that, right? And if you look in the comic books, and if you look in the Marvel movie Hulk vs. Wolverine, or Wolverine vs. Hulk, which is where I wish they would have started that whole story. It's too bad, but whatever. Wolverine's the only one that actually steps back and looks around, because originally Wolverine is supposed to be a government experiment who's sent out to kill the Hulk. This degenerate experiment whose unstoppable, and now they created Wolverine to go out and stop the Hulk. That's when Wolverine originally appeared with Wendigo in the Hulk comics, right? Well, if you read the comics and the movie, and the animated movie, Wolverine's the only one that noticed after his original fight with the Hulk, after he gets ripped in half and comes back to life because he has the healing factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of destruction around here. Holy shit. But there's nobody that's hurt, except for the bad guys. And Wolverine's the first one to actually confront or get through to the Hulk, try to talk him down to the level of, I understand what you're doing, let me help. You know what I mean?
And they've been best friends, rivals ever since.
Yeah, rivals, I would say, reluctant partners, until Old Man Logan, of course, and then we all know who wins that fight.
Yeah. But still, the whole thing from the Hulk analogy to where the Punisher kind of went into place was kind of how it shaped my view of things. And I will be picking up the first season now because I've been giving it a lot more thought into things. But that's kind of like the positive coin of this whole discussion, where the negative comes from the big news from Netflix over the cancellation of 2 of their heroes for hire from the Defenders.
Yep, Iron Fist has been canceled.
And Luke Cage, at the time of this recording, only a matter of days ago.
So, disappointed. I mean, I understand the first season wasn't that great. I enjoyed it, but it was, like you said, Finn Jones just came from, what was it, Game of Thrones?
Finn Jones just came off from his contract at Game of Thrones when they hired him to do all the film stunts, where he mostly did sword fighting and walking around in armor, props and whatnot. So doing that to go to martial arts, he'll be sluggish. And then with fans being like, why wasn't an Asian American playing Danny Rand? It's just like, guys, Danny Rand was white.
Right. Instead of, and if that was the way, okay, if they were going to introduce Danny Rand, and I thought they did it great in the second season, which we will not get into because V hasn't watched it yet.
I have so much on my plate, guys.
They handled that so much better. So I am of the opinion, and it's my opinion, no one else's, and if you disagree, that is absolutely okay. But if you're going to introduce a character from the comic books, they should be that character from the comic books, right? If you want to change it, that's fine. If you want to introduce, let's say, when they rebooted Spider-Man and Sony made the deal with Marvel, had they brought in Miles Morales instead of Peter Parker, that would have been okay too, right?
Yeah,
I'd have been completely fine with that.
Yeah, because canon-wise, Miles Morales would have just appeared into the Marvel universe because they've technically done a young version of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in a new continuity where you didn't have the same backstory because Magneto isn't in that universe yet because they haven't done the whole thing with the Gauntlet to now say, we have all these properties because of the buyout. Do this now. Right.
So, but I think Danny Rand is the only Iron Fist, right? I mean, in the comics?
In the current comics, he's the only Iron Fist of the modern era. There is no other person that has taken on facing the dragon to punch it straight through the heart to get the power of controlling chi from Kunlun. He's the only current member, unless you count Devros using the Silver Serpent of negative chi to do so.
Okay, so I think if they had really wanted to, or if they were going to, or had that push or drive to change Iron Fist, what they could have done is introduce Danny Rand, and the story, just like first 3 episodes type thing in season 1, who he is, and then kill him and pass the Iron Fist off to somebody else, if that was the direction they were going.
Or, better, have it so Danny Rand is the old Iron Fist, giving it to a successor.
There you go,
Still in Kunlun. If they wanted it that way, they can make an original character instead of being like, Danny Rand should have been this Asian American, because a lot of fanboys didn't consider, maybe if they wanted this, they could have just said, can you guys just make an original character but still respect the old continuity?
Right, exactly. And that's so like Luke Cage, and
Don't get me started on Luke Cage.
Like, could you imagine the outcry if somebody wanted Luke Cage to be an Asian American or a Hindu American instead of Luke Cage?
There was a lot of outcry because they thought Luke Cage villains were either too promising or too boring, and I have a lot to say about that, so I'm just gonna hold my tongue for now.
But I mean, like, you could either create a new character, or if there is other characters in the comic books, like Spider-Man's a perfect example because there's so many Spider-Men.
We've done a Spider-Verse Part 1, Part 2 coming sometime later in 2019.
Right, so I'm only going to touch on this because me and V had already talked about it, so it's okay. If you've seen Season 2, at some point the Iron Fist is changed hands, okay? Let's say, because Davos in the series.
Yeah.
Steals Danny's Iron Fist.
But he has his own copy of things where he's the Silver Serpent.
So
he didn't have to steal the chi, just going to the... Oh, right, because Doctor Strange is in the TV part of the cinematic universe.
Yeah, they haven't connected those two yet. So, anyways, V was talking about in the Iron Fist comic books, there is a, would you say, a chi-wielding...
Oh, yeah, there was an Iron Fist female wielder that could imbue her sword with chi to fight. That was the original continuity from the comics of, like, Danny Rand, you see your forefathers before you, and 4 sisters.
But in the show, the Iron Fist wielding sword wielder is Colleen Wing, which she never did in the comic books. Good twist on a new story. Nice way to do things. Now you have an Asian American playing the role of an Iron Fist in the city, and I won't go any further than that because V has not seen Season 2, but he needs to, because it ends pretty epically.
And there's supposed to be something about... I remember there was something about a former Iron Fist that still has chi powers wielding guns.
You have to watch the second season.
Okay, but...
I do not want to spoil it, okay?
I understand, but if they gave Colleen Wing that stuff, then the Daughters of the Dragon would have been a good jump-off point for a spin-off.
I so badly want to tell you.
No, I know you do, but I'm just saying to just segue away from that. If Colleen Wing was given the powers of the Iron Fist, they could have obviously been like, Colleen Wing can now do Daughters of the Dragon while they write up stuff for Season 3 of Iron Fist.
Right, exactly, which is where the reason why I'm not shocked because there was so much outcry over Season 1, but I am kind of shocked because the way the show ended is kind of a holy shit, like they did that and then they canceled it a month later. Are you kidding me? Why did you do that? Now I have to know what happens now, because look what you did, Netflix. With Luke Cage, I haven't even finished Season 2, so I really can't speak to how the season was.
So the way Season 2 shaped up, I'm almost done with it. It's like Luke is trying to become the big hero, but he's also trying to do things his own way, a very violent and dark way, kind of like the season antagonist that comes from Jamaica.
So is it more like an anti-hero type of thing, or?
It can be, because the main antagonist of the whole series of Black Mariah is the reason the season antagonists exist. But Luke is like the chaotic hero, while the villain is just chaotic evil.
So is it more like oh god, what is it? Flashpoint Batman?
Kind of.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. And it shapes up to where I know how the season ends, where Luke is now so in charge of Harlem that he's viewed as a villainous sort because he uses such dark methods to get stuff done.
Did he go that way in the comic books?
No, they just wrote him to go to jail a bunch of times in his early years before just like, man, this is kind of insensitive to black people. And let's just partner him up with like a cool white guy. And then he and Danny Rand made Heroes for Hire, one of the best team-up comics before I got in touch with the Avengers. And
I actually believe that saved both those comic books back in the day, because Luke Cage's sales and Iron Fist sales were not that great at the comic book stores.
Mostly because they didn't really understand how to make a black-centric superhero until the Milestone Comics made Static Shock, Icon, and the Nightbreed.
Well, you got to look at it. Those comics during the what they call it, the blaxploitation years.
Yeah, that was a little fucked up. Plus, with Danny Rand, he was a pro white guy liking other races because they're different, and a hippie type superhero, which rubs a lot of racist people the wrong way.
But when they did the Heroes for Hire, those sales jumped, and they kind of brought those two characters back to the forefront. I don't know how long it lasted. Actually, it
lasted a great deal of time, enough to get them into the first issue of the Defenders, where it was those two and Daredevil with Doctor Strange as the leader, and then the newer iteration of it in the new modern day comics, where Luke Cage and Jessica Jones have their daughter, Danny Rand is one of the masters in Kunlun, still defending things, Daredevil still doing Daredevil things. It was an amazing time for both of them, but the more we're bringing this up, the more it kind of makes sense why fans have the same outcry, because I don't want to make it seem like the American audience is super racist. Mostly because it's kind of too blatant to make a joke about that. But
come on. If we were comedians, we could figure something out.
But with all the stuff that people have seen from how people treat black superheroes, from just animation stuff of Young Justice, or live action stuff like Black Lightning and the sort of stuff.
Now, is Black Lightning an actual DC character?
He was, and also wasn't.
Because
it's complicated.
I've never heard of him until the CW brought him to TV.
He was part of the Justice Friends TV show and the comics.
That would be why he was like one of the.
A lot of African Americans had a problem with it because of the name back in the day.
Sorry.
So it's kind of like a weird thing of he existed, but you can't really say his old origins without people being like, "You mean that little Uncle Tom looking mother?" Oh, whoa there, whoa there.
So he was like he was a very there, but he didn't have like his own comic book set. He was just one of the side heroes that would jump in.
Like Apache Chief sort of thing.
Yeah, like the Wonder Twins, but the Wonder Twins even had their own cartoon, I guess.
Sort of, but yeah, with that stuff, and then people remembering Static Shock, they're just like, how do you do something with Luke Cage? Oh, he's in prison? So you trying to say that it's a black superhero that just got out of prison, huh? So you're supposed to be worshiping a convict, huh? And then it's oh, so now this one supervillain is supposed to be his half-brother. How are we supposed to relate? I can't have a half-brother come back as a supervillain. That sounds too far-fetched. He's not that interesting. Oh, and now we're going to have this other one of a Jamaican man that's angry at Black Mariah. Oh, so we're going to have two angry black men just trying to fight in the city? That is too unrealistic. Like, guys, you're not black. Even black people would just be like, you know... If I was just starting some shit and I found out that this man's dad dicked down my mom, I'd be kind of pissed too. I'd be trying to gun down this sumbitch for having me get this shitty childhood, and cause even if he didn't know, it's still fucked up. I've had people in my life like that.
I really liked the way they introduced Luke Cage. You know, he was in prison, but it was false. He was there falsely, which I think strikes a chord with a lot of people, especially, you know, black people today being in prison falsely,
and then
just because
they were, and then
black.
With the villains Cottonmouth interesting, being like the grandson of a owner of a hoe house and a pimp that also molested his cousin. Sure.
But the way they his upbringing was very abusive, to say the least. And even he, at some points in the show, when looking at his sister, was like, holy shit, you're taking it a bit too far, you know?
And because
she suffered the mental abuse.
Actually, sexual abuse, too. She got fucked by the uncle.
And he suffered the physical abuse. You know, if you don't shoot this motherfucker, I'm going to beat you, you know?
And
like, those two, I thought they'd have a stronger bond than what they did. And then when he turned around and she's like, boom, pushes him out the window.
That's I can actually answer that for you about why I knew that wouldn't work. Because he brought up that she was raped. And you never tell a black woman that she wanted that, because that's when she gets super murdery. But with Cottonmouth, people love Cottonmouth. With Diamondback, they're just like, oh, so this is supposed to be Luke Cage's half-brother? How are we supposed to relate to this kind of supervillain that just happens to be the half-brother and getting mad about it? It's like, guys, again, you're not black. You don't understand how frustrating that is for certain people that don't know who their real father is. And when they find out, when they're getting through all this torture and shit, it fucks up their mind. They don't care what happens.
And to be honest, I thought Cottonmouth was going to be the main villain throughout the whole, you know, because I as I'm watching it, I like to do my research as I'm watching it to know what the real story is. And because I never read those, like, with Wolverine, I don't need to so much because obviously I'm a fucking freak for Wolverine, but and the X-Men.
Yeah.
But with characters I know but don't necessarily know a lot about.
Right.
I research them as I'm going, and if in the comic books, Cottonmouth is a actually, isn't he kind of like a 2-bit character in the comics?
He is.
Like
he's not very, that interesting.
Right. And there was a lot of complaints about him, too, in the comics. But they made this character interesting. You know, I thought this would be his Moriarty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa! Did not see that coming. I mean, I saw it coming, but, you know, like... I liked it. I liked the first... They did such a good job of backstory and character building in the first season. Again, I haven't seen the second season. I really enjoyed the Luke Cage. I liked all of the Marvel series. The only one I didn't finish was Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones is we are not going to talk about her today, but you guys can kind of see why these cancellation stuff strike a chord, because a lot of people are upset that Marvel happened to cancel the 2 shows with the biggest array of people of color that happen to have a predominant thing. Because with Jessica Jones, they only had like one set of a recovering drug addict just in the background doing shit, or a Hispanic landlord. That's not that interesting. With Daredevil, it's well,
he's deep in the hand right now. He found I haven't started season 3, but he found at the end of season 2 he found the Beast or whatever the hell that was.
Oh yeah, well, Elektra's Greek. She's not really a person of color.
You're right. You're right.
But with like Luke Cage, you have Luke himself, Misty Knight, most of the people of the Harlem PD with the Iron Fist. Danny Rand is basically a white guy that loves rap music, and his best friend that he hangs out with in the dojo is Colleen Wing, who's a badass girlfriend and best friend.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my theory as to what I think they're doing. I think Marvel's killing these series off so that... I'm sorry, I'm not Marvel. I think Netflix is killing these series off, so that when Disney finally launches their streaming service, which I think they have partially,
but not fully,
because Netflix still owns the rights to these Marvel's characters, they're killing them off so Disney can't use them. Because Disney has already stated that once their streaming service goes full service and they have their, everything is set, at the end of this year, they were pulling all the Disney content off of Netflix anyways, which means Iron Fist is gone, Luke Cage is gone, Daredevil's gone, Jessica Jones is gone, because it's all Disney owned property, technically, because Disney owns Marvel. And these are Marvel TV shows. That's not to say Disney couldn't launch their own, right? Because Disney still owns the rights to the characters.
Yeah, not wrong, but
they aren't going to have Netflix's directors to do it.
Yes, but there's also one teeny tiny problem if they did that, and I point that to DC's own streaming platform site because of what they've been doing currently with DC's Titans, which I've only seen trailers for, but it looks badass. Although it does, with the fact that a lot of people only do Hulu or Netflix and don't want to have to spend extra to get these other sites, unlike Crunchyroll, because people actually like anime more nowadays, it doesn't seem like a very profitable venture to just take everything like this to make sure people have even more bills to pay on top of their Wi-Fi, their Netflix, their Hulus, and all that stuff.
To them, it's just business. They don't think about shit like that. They're just thinking about money.
But that would lose the money, though.
I understand, and it pisses people like me and you off because it's ridiculous. You've got people watching your content on separate platforms. Now you're launching your own platform and making it your content exclusive to that platform. That is not a money-making idea. Disney's got so much money they can do it. Okay, they can do it, and they'll have so much content that people will buy it. DC, maybe not so much, right? DC, I think, would have been better off making a joint venture with Netflix or Hulu, like you said, or even Amazon, and producing these shows on those platforms because it would have made them more money. Yeah, okay, you got to give up 20%. At the end of the day, it's more money in your pocket because they're not going to be paying for your service if they've already got Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon.
Yeah, but at the same time, at the same venture, people don't really want to see Disney's own streaming site stuff because they're too comfortable with where they do stuff now on the TV network stuff. If they have Sling TV on their Amazon Fire Sticks or on stuff like Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, because they can watch all the stuff they already produce now. If they do another streaming site, that would just cause another riff of, you're making us pay even more stuff on top of the stuff we already spend for our kids, for the stuff we gotta do for these ventures, for outdoor theater stuff with DVD sales. That just seems like it's too much of a greedy move, in my opinion. Like, I understand what you're saying.
I agree.
I understand what you're saying, Aaron, but it's also kind of a dumb move in retrospect for both parties.
No, I am agreeing with you. That's why I'm telling you why it pisses me off. Now, let's look at it from their perspective. Disney's thinking, I'm going to bank on this. You can only get my content, which includes the Marvel film series and possibly the television series as well. And you can only get it here. You can't go to Netflix anymore. Ant-Man and Wasp is coming to Netflix. All the other, I shouldn't say all the other, Thor Ragnarok is on Netflix. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is on Netflix right now. As soon as Disney pulls this plug, those are all gone. And the only place you can get them all the time, anytime, unless you bought the movies, which is another thing. When did people stop buying movies?
They didn't. Because some people are just like, I'm tired of Netflix pulling the contract. I'm going to buy the DVDs.
Exactly. This sounds like a dumb business move from Disney, but from Disney's perspective, they're thinking, I'm going to make money on this because this is the only place you can come to get it.
But here's where, from my perspective, to join in where me and Aaron think it's stupid, I have thanks to now having this ring on my hand, I have a young 2-year-old niece now that loves stuff like Disney movies, Barbie movies, stuff like that. And I have to basically save money to do all the big stuff for her when she gets older. So I can't really afford to do extra streaming platform sites to be like, here you go, Em. There you go with all the Disney stuff here, while I have to pay even more on top of my upcoming rent, my Netflix,
It definitely takes away from what you're able. I mean, I get screen time is a thing nowadays, but it's so easy on the weekends at bedtime. Say, hey, why don't you go watch a movie? And Netflix is there and got you with tons of content. Disney content that they can watch, and now it's going away. I think Disney'd make more money if they stayed with Netflix.
They would, because a lot of the people that use that revenue to use the streaming stuff of Netflix and Hulu, which ends up going back in the bank of these companies, are families like me, like Aaron, like Sally and her husband, like Britt, her husband and her daughter, like Schweebs and Phoenix. We all know that families are the backbone to a lot of the stuff with these film companies, these TV show producers, and they're doing this sort of stupid thing, like how they've been pulling off these cancellation sites here and there for their shows on these platforms. If that's the end goal, that is a very dumb goal if you're trying to build up revenue for these families that are your main commodities.
And I think that Iron Fist does have a chance of coming back, if not for a whole season, to at least explain what happened at the end of season 2. Not saying it's going to happen, but I think there's a chance, because there is a little outcry right now as to why it got canceled.
Yeah, plus Change.org put a petition about, get season 3 back up online.
Yeah, so there's a possibility there, but I'm tired of big corporations, especially big corporations like Disney, who on the face of it say, we're all about families, we're all about values, we're all about this and that and blah, blah, blah. And they're like the villain behind the scenes. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we just want your fucking money. Well, yeah, they're a business, I get it. They are a very profitable business, one of the largest in the friggin' world. And they're supposed to be about family, but then they literally kind of tear it apart by saying, well, no, you want this? You got to come here. Oh, fuck you, Disney. Anyways.
So, to just... yes.
Oh, shit. It just popped in my head and then it just left. I am so sorry. There was the thing I was going to say and then I did not say it. So I'm sorry.
It's fine. And we tend to do that a lot. And we haven't had a single tirade today in this episode. So season 3 is kicking off very nicely.
Yay!
We're going to then move on to the second topic of seasonal hype shows. A lot of stuff's been cooking up this season for the fall stuff, like Castlevania Season 2 for people that love anime is starting to drop sometime soon.
Ooh, I've been waiting for that. I've so been waiting for that after Season 1. Not Fairy. Seven Deadly Sins Season... They're calling it Season 3, but since Season 2 was technically 4 episodes and didn't do anything to advance the story, I'm calling it Season 2.
Well, Season 2 was basically filler to explain the time thing, because in the manga, it was just one chapter of what they were doing, and then the next story involving the 10 Commandments. I'm a huge Seven Deadly Sins fan.
I'm in love with the series right now. Season 2 is kicked off, and it's so reminiscent. Yes, maybe it's overplayed for some people, but it's so reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z and Bleach with, he defeated that demon in Season 1, like the human-demon hybrid, he defeated him, and it almost killed him. And then here come the 7 deadly sins, and they're like, 20,000 times stronger than that demon. You find out that the demon the human hybrid, or the human merged with in season 1, was just a gray demon. If you watch the 7 deadly sins, they have demons. They have demons layered out into tiers. They have red demons, gray demons, and
the 10 Commandments, which aren't all demons. Like, some of them are fairies, and a few of them are fallen. It's a whole big thing I could go into that are like huge spoiler regions if you guys haven't read the mangas or seen the show. But I will say that Meliodas has a huge thing tied with the 10 Commandments because of one familiar face.
I'm discovering that because I've started watching it. I'm on episode 8, I think, and he had just. I'm not going to spoil it, but like it's reminiscent of the Dragon Ball and the Bleach thing because after the last season where your favorite character almost dies, the next season starts and you find out, now the new big bad boss is 20,000 times stronger than the previous bad boss. No chance he could beat him. And then that building process of how he gets his strength up and how he gets his strength back in some cases. I love that shit,
Me and Aaron are basically shonen trash to the anime community. We like action adventure shows where it's like, you think you're strong? Well, I'll train up and get 10 times stronger. Okay, Goku, sit down. I'm Deku. I can't tell you guys apart anymore.
Meliodas. Wait, what? How did you get blonde hair? Yes. I did want to do this. I wanted to plug this. It's a shameless plug, and we're not getting paid for it. We never do. VRV. Have you ever heard of it? Or Verve?
Oh yeah, Verve, the new site for all anime lovers to find all the stuff that they wanted to find on Crunchyroll and more.
And Funimation. It was a joint venture between Crunchyroll and Funimation to create this site because they were basically like, hey, why don't we stop competing so hard? Because Funimation had its own platform, and then Crunchyroll pick up everything that Funimation wouldn't, right?
And so the baby of Verve was born. So if you guys want to, you should guys check out Verve.com. Listen to the description below. We do not give a discount, nor do we get any money from this because we don't have partnerships.
It's a free site, though. You don't have to sign up for anything. There is the option to. You can subscribe. It's kind of like an anime smorgasbord of picking and choosing your own channels. They even have a horror channel on that site. All of the content, not all of, most of the content is free. There are some shows, like shows that are streaming live, like Dragon Ball Super at one point. You had to pay for a premium subscription to keep up to date with those episodes because they were coming out every week.
And plus, all the donations help the site of Verve keep up with all the amazing content that you guys want to get from one installment to the next. So like we keep saying, you guys can go to Verve.com in the description below, and if you guys end up trying to give us a plug so we can get a partnership from Verve or from Funimation, we would enjoy it so much.
Anyways, enough about that. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug aside, next thing I'm kind of looking forward to is, although I hated Riverdale, I still hate Riverdale. I will forever hate Riverdale.
Oh my goodness. So
I'm looking forward to the chilling adventures of Sabrina.
Now, is this supposed to be Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
It is. But
it's a darker take on it.
It's based off of the Archie comics where she was indeed around demons. I believe I have the comic on my desk.
So it's a spin-off. See, I need to admit to something. I was curious about Riverdale for the longest time because I knew it involved Archie and Jughead and all of the Archie characters. Now, if you know the Archie characters from the comics...
As you guys can tell, we do not have pictures up on screen. I'm sorry, Aaron. But I do have one of the comics in my hand right here. It's still in its wrapping. All about how Sabrina, in her first issue, is chosen to go enact a demonist ritual with Satan to become a witch, which is going to be the focal point of the first season.
See, most of you know Sabrina the Teenage Witch is Melissa Joan Hart, the fun-loving teenage witch with her aunts living in a house.
The double.
Anyways, So back to the Riverdale thing. The comics are really bubblegum-ish, okay? As a matter of fact, you could find the Archie comics on bubblegum wrappers. Bazooka bubblegum wrappers, as a matter of fact. Archie Comics, that was one of their sponsors.
And they have the cereals in grocery stores of like Betty and Veronica, or sometimes just Jughead solo. There have been so many Archie comics over the generations, it's not even funny anymore. But I'm
Riverdale,
pain.
Riverdale took a totally different turn and made it a dark drama.
They made a ripoff of Twin Peaks.
You know what? I could agree with that. I really could. I thought Ozark was the ripoff of Twin Peaks, but I will go with Riverdale. That is absolutely correct. But it turned into something I gotta say I actually enjoy. And my daughter loves it, and Jenny despises me for it.
Me and Jenny are just like, I hate Riverdale so much.
Well, the problem is it's like a guilty pleasure. She doesn't want to like it.
Oh, I honestly, I only watched it because Cole Sprouse's Jughead is just kind of an interesting take.
I like how they
Jughead in the fucking comics being the goddamn moron.
Well, I liked how they made him. He's the narrator, and not only that, it's more like through his eyes. It's a film noir. You know what I mean? And I always kind of liked that self-narration story, like Max Payne. Mm-hmm. The video game Max Payne was a self-narrative story about a noir New York City cop who's... I've always liked it, and I've never read Archie comics, right? But I always knew they were just like this poppy, funny storytelling. We'll meet at the diner. Oh, that was a great game, you know. And the show is not that at all. The show is like a mix between... what's that frickin' James Vanderbeek movie where he's a football player? Varsity Blues.
Yep.
And oh fuck, what's the other show?
I'm telling you, man, season 1 is just a rip-off of Twin Peaks. What happened to Cheryl Blossom's brother, Jason Blossom?
Yeah, but when you find out, it's actually kind of...
It's exactly like Twin Peaks minus the Bob thing.
But it's kind of shocking.
It was, unless you were one of those people like, why does this seem familiar?
For those of you who don't know, which I'm sure most of you do, if you haven't watched Riverdale, and I don't know, it's in season what, like 4?
Season
3 or 4?
3.
Season 3. In the first season, a boy gets murdered. And it's a very wealthy boy that gets murdered because he's trying to run away from home. Because he doesn't want this lifestyle. He found out the truth about a maple syrup company, which his father owns. Right?
As well as the secret of he got his cousin pregnant.
At the end of that season, you see that the murderer isn't any of the people who they have suspected or the evidence had led to, because for most of the season you're led to believe that Jughead's father is the murderer.
Because he's part of a biker gang.
In fact, Jughead's father was trying to help him, and his real murderer is actually his father.
Why does that seem familiar, 90s fans? Oh, wait, Twin Peaks did that.
There ain't many 90s fans here, V, besides me and you, and I grew up then.
Yeah. But it's like, it's like Leland Palmer is saying out in the crowd, "You rip-off!"
Anyways, so Riverdale's another seasonal show. What else? What else is coming up?
Let us see. There's like a whole cornucopia of stuff.
The Flash? The Flash has started.
Oh yeah, where he's in his new suit. That's part of the new continuity of when he shoots out from the ring, like in the comics. Yep.
And it doesn't have a chin strap, which some fans are freaking out about for some reason. I don't know why. Oh my god!
Barry's chin.
And his daughter from the future is back.
Oh, Barry.
Yeah, Nora Allen is in the show. I don't know what it means. I don't know why. So the headline has been updated. You know, the headline, he goes into his room where it says Flash disappears in crisis. Uh-huh. And everybody's like, oh my god, Crisis on Infinite Earths is going to come up. And then they did the Flashpoint in season 2.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, wait a second. That wasn't Crisis. What's going on? What are you trying to do, Flash? Well, they added to it. Nora's come back, and she showed him another page, another headline. So, yes, Flash disappears in the future. We don't know why yet. We still haven't figured that out. But now Nora has brought more to the table. Now her headline says Flash has been missing for 25 years.
Oh, God.
So, where will that...
Although this is only like 8 days old, a brand new show dropped on Amazon called The Romanovs.
I haven't seen the show, but I've seen it on Amazon. Yes.
Now, I only knew about this because I have a very, very clear thing for Christina Hendricks from Mad Men. And
why is that, V?
One, she's now a redhead instead of blonde. 2, she's thick as hell. And 3, her voice is just, oh my God. But anyway, this is also a show from Mad Men creator Matthew Weiner. So it's supposed to be kind of like a comedy drama, or dramedy, if you will.
Comedy drama. I thought it was about like the actual Romanovs.
If it was about the Romanovs, people would be shaking their heads over how fucking dumb they were. But we're not going to go over my own hatred for where I come from. There was also the return of Big Mouth 15 days ago, if you guys haven't seen that.
I just finished watching it the other day. It's hilarious as ever, I will admit.
But
it's
stuff that's
also totally wrong.
Of course. But coming up soon is the final season of House of Cards. Because, like Orange is the New Black, it's on its last leg with Netflix.
Which, actually, Orange is the New Black was one of Netflix's originals. Originals. And it's in its, what?
7th season.
7th season. So, for a streaming service to offer up its own original content, which Netflix was the first to do, 7 seasons is definitely formidable. I mean, that is something to look at and say, we did a pretty damn good job, considering the longest television shows. And I'm not talking longest in history. I'm talking, like, because you'd have to reach into Doctor Who and, like, WWE for shit like that, for the longest running series. But, like, when you look into Cheers or MASH, the average run length for an epic TV show is usually around 10 years, 9 or 10 years. So 7 years for your first at-bat is not bad.
It is not bad at all.
So, Netflix, I don't know why you're canceling shows I like.
There's a brand new Charmed reboot coming out soon.
Saw that too. Being of the generation that watched the original series from the 90s, I have a feeling this one is going to be far removed from that one.
And let me just try to get the last list I can before I forget. September had a lot of premieres that we're not going to go over because we're in the month of October when we're recording this. Oh yeah, Riverdale had a season premiere a couple of days ago. It's not important. Oh, Legends of Tomorrow is still going strong in the CW? That's almost shocking.
The CW, which was formerly Warner Brothers, if you grew up in the 90s, WB was a show. That was what Smallville was on. That's what Arrow started on. And then CW took it over and have carried the mantle of being this superhero network.
With Legends of Tomorrow being probably one of their most divided series to date, because it started off with Rory Williams basically being a Time Lord, collecting all these subcategory heroes and villains.
The only thing keeping that show alive is the crossovers they do with Arrow, Supergirl, and Flash.
Yeah.
That's all that's keeping it alive.
All it is. Sally's Big Show Legacies is coming out in about 5 days at the time of this recording on October 25th.
I don't know what that is. That's about the vampires, isn't it?
It's about the vampires that she loves so much.
And I think I saw a trailer for it. It kind of reminded me of Interview with a Vampire, but less of an interview with the vampire and more of this is the present storytelling of this legacy of vampires.
Right.
Okay.
And I believe that is all of the stuff aside from Daredevil Season 3 that a lot of people have just been like, hey, what? The fall is here. So we've had...
Bullseye is coming, V.
Bullseye has arrived.
And he's not Irish in this. He's actually an American soldier.
Oh, man.
Yeah, another twist. I personally liked Colin Farrell's take on Bullseye.
Too bad Ben Affleck was a terrible, terrible Daredevil.
It wasn't Ben Affleck. It really wasn't. I'm going to stick up for him on that one. That movie was not Ben Affleck's fault. That movie was the writers and a failed attempt at Marvel trying to make their own Marvel movie. Because they cast Jennifer Garner as Elektra.
Yeah.
It's not. I like Jennifer Garner. I love Jennifer Garner. She should not have been Elektra.
No.
That was the writers and producers. That was them trying to come out with big budget box office earners at the time and say, we can make a good movie too, and failed miserably because they cast people that did not belong in that role.
They had Michael Clark Duncan as fucking Kingpin. That was great casting. How do you fuck that up?
Yes. See, there is one that I could have agreed with for Kingpin. Kingpin, originally in the comics, he's a big freaking bullet-shaped, well, his head is bullet-shaped, the rest of him is egg-shaped. He's a ginormous man, very strong and powerful, but he's a white character in the comics. Michael Clark Duncan was a very good casting choice to change that up as Kingpin.
Big, bulky, muscular. He looks like he could throw down.
Yes, that was a good call. Jennifer Garner as Elektra, not so much because she's not American.
As Daredevil, terrible choice.
I really seriously don't think he did a bad job as an actor in that role.
I can't really like him as a superhero role, man.
Nobody can after Daredevil, and it's sad because I thought he did a tremendous job as Batman. I really did.
But we could
argument for another day.
Yeah, we could go about this all day. Oh, tirade 0.1 involving Ben Affleck. We could go all day with that, guys, but we're just gonna now go into final thoughts on both discussions. Aaron, do you want to give your final thoughts on the two topics that we talked about today?
I'm tired of people canceling shows that I like. I'm tired of it. I hate it. Netflix is usually the safe haven for shows that get canceled, right? I mean, you see a show on network TV, the ratings just weren't up to par with The Walking Dead, which Walking Dead's freaking ratings are falling too now. We'll just scrub it. Netflix picks it up, and they do a good job. They create their own content, which, bottom line, even if they're using the same formula, which, as you can see in most of their original content, they do, they push the limits, they push the boundaries of what's acceptable on network TV and then go past it, especially if you look at shows like Big Mouth. Basically, Netflix is like HBO, but they're HBO now, not like HBO then. They give their directors, as from personal experiences with people who've done interviews about Netflix doing their stuff, like comedians having a stand-up special or whatever. Basically, Netflix writes you a check and says, here you go. And then they leave you alone, they let you make your thing, and it goes on there, and they show it, and if people like it, they leave it, and if people don't like it, they take it off. Now, I don't know what the reception for Iron Fist Season 2 was. Apparently, it wasn't good. But I want more, and I'm tired of it. As for the second subject, seasonal shows. These are the shows that last, 13 episodes? They don't... I mean, The Flash is usually like a 24 episode full season, right?
Sort of, I guess.
It starts back in the 90s when I watched TV, shows usually went 24 to 26 episodes. Nowadays on network television, they do the 12 or 13, then they have that seasonal break where the new seasonal shows start, which is right around now. And then they come back in the winter or just after autumn, which I guess would be fall. I don't fucking know. Whatever. There's a new season for everything now. They come back and do like 4 more episodes, which is still less than a full season that I can remember. Full season is like 26 episodes. I see more full seasons from freaking animes on Verve and Netflix now than I do on any network television show, aside from the CW. So seasonal shows, yeah, I get why they're around. They're there to give the actors a break and blah, 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 from other shows that have been going for the rest of the year. I don't know where I was going with that point. Why don't you give your summary?
Okay, for the cancellation of shows or just taking them down for no good for any company that can tell what their main niche for the audience is, I can tell you all from director to director, you don't need to always listen to what the fans say, because in retrospect, a lot of your best product comes from underappreciated or undervalued works. Firefly being a huge example, along with other sort of properties I can mention. There would be Clone High for a lot of the animation fans. People loved it, but because Indians hated how they made Gandhi's clone a total dickhead, they decided to take it off the air. Megas XLR for a lot of the American fans. People loved having a huge tubby guy and a giant robot fight off crime, but people were upset when they took that off the air. Twin Peaks, a wonderfully underappreciated live show that people enjoyed a great deal, but was taken off the air due to executive decisions that made it unfavorable. From all the stuff that I can list off from animation, live action, and even movie-based stuff, there has been a giant quantity of shows that have been taken off the air that have had a lot of potential to do greater and better things, whether fans initially hated it or if critics loved it but hated it. It's oftentimes that sort of thing, and the main problem has always been that the network has never felt like they should push the boundaries to see where it can go to be better. With the stuff that I'm disclosing, that's where I think networks and Netflix should stop canceling stuff because of just initial things and just not even waiting for the full-blown year to go by to see if stuff will improve. Because any sort of opinion can change within a year. A lot of things can change in a shorter span of time. But that's just how I feel about stuff with the cancellation part. Seasonal shows, though, is a shorter subject for myself. I just think they're a great break for stuff for the creators, because honestly, guys, since I own an entertainment label now, I can appreciate seasonal shows a lot better. Making a short burst of creativity of stuff that you probably wouldn't do normally to make your bigger projects that you're super passionate about, that works wonders. You will be amazed at how much you will love your work more when you make seasonal shows.
Just to interject here quick, because I didn't know where my thought was going on the seasonal show thing. I wasn't trying to hate on them.
I wasn't saying you were hating them. I was just saying
that's where I was like, I don't know where I'm going with this thought, because it was not a complete thought when I started saying it. So I am sorry for that. I did not mean to give that. I understand why they exist and why there's a break now in most shows. You have the first season kickoff or the beginning of the season kickoff, and then you have your hiatus in the middle and come back with your few episodes to do the finale. I get it now. Like, why they do that, to give everybody a break and kind of a respite from all of that. I wasn't trying to hate on it. I'm sorry, V, continue.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine, Aaron. I was just doing that small thing as like director and label owner to entertainers that have been in the game. Like, I get it now. I didn't understand it as a film student. I didn't understand it for a long time. But now that I'm getting older, doing stuff my own way, I get it. I truly do. So, from all that sort of stuff, that's just our whole end-all thoughts for the summary of things. We got a new note from one of the new lady from HR, from the sexual harassment office. We have not gotten a complaint yet, so that's beautiful. It's from Kelly. I have not met Kelly yet.
I haven't either. I know a couple of Kellys here.
Yeah. But Kelly was just sending out this note of congratulations for season 3, looking forward to more stuff. And also she's trying to go over an old complaint about Dylan from the mail room sending nudes to all the female hosts.
Wait, we have a mail room? No, wait. How is it spelled? Tell me how it's spelled first.
D-I-L-A-N.
Oh, no. I mean mail room. How is it spelled?
Oh. M-A-I-L-R-O-M.
Okay. Because if it was M-A-L-E, I could totally understand why Dylan from the mail room would be sending nudes to all of the ladies. No, that's terrible. We fired him, right?
Oh, yeah, he had the shotgun of firing like a long time ago.
Well, then why is this an issue?
Because she saw in the old files and wanted to know the complaint, and I'm like, I don't know.
She wanted to see the dick pics, didn't she?
I guess. I don't know what Kelly's up to.
Uh-oh, I feel a second letter coming.
Oh, if it's a second letter, I just can imagine it now just being like, I heard that, Hubs.
That was not okay to say. What?
But you know what is okay to say?